Why overthinking is just another avoidance strategy. The uncomfortable truth. Most people don't overthink because they're intelligent. They overthink because they're afraid to move. They call it processing. They call it being careful. They call it thinking things through. But strip away the language and what's left is fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being judged. Fear of choosing something and having to live with it. So instead of moving forward, they stay in their head, busy, alert, exhausted, and stuck. Today, we're going to expose overthinking for what it actually is. Not depth, not wisdom, not self-awareness, but avoidance disguised as intelligence. Why overthinking feels like work. Overthinking feels productive. That's the trap. Your mind is active. You're replaying conversations, analyzing tone, running scenarios, forecasting outcomes, trying to figure it out. It feels like effort, which tricks your brain into believing, I'm doing something. But nothing changes. No decisions are made. No risks are taken. No actions are completed. You burn mental energy without creating movement. Overthinking is motion without direction. It's like revving an engine while the car stays in park. Lots of noise, no progress. Action requires courage. Thinking doesn't. Action has consequences. Thinking doesn't. When you act, you might fail, you might be rejected, you might embarrass yourself, you might discover you were wrong. When you think, you stay safe, you stay unseen, you stay in control, you delay discomfort. So the nervous system learns a preference. If action once led to pain, criticism, or emotional fallout, the brain adapts. It says, let's not do that again. And it replaces action with analysis. Thinking becomes a shield, not because you're weak, but because your system is protecting you. The problem is, protection eventually becomes prison. Overthinking is not processing. This is where people get defensive. They say, I'm not avoiding, I'm processing. So, let's be precise. Processing has an endpoint. Overthinking doesn't. Processing moves toward resolution, clarifies emotion, ends in a decision. Overthinking recycles the same questions, amplifies doubt, avoids finality. If you've been processing the same situation for months, if you're still replaying the same moment, if the same decision keeps resurfacing, you're not processing, you're looping. And loops exist to delay action. Why your brain prefers loops. The brain hates uncertainty, but it hates responsibility even more, because responsibility means you chose, you committed, you acted. And once you act, you can't hide. So instead, the mind creates a loop. What if, but maybe, I need to think about it more. Each loop postpones exposure. Each loop buys time. Each loop feels safer than standing behind a decision. Overthinking isn't confusion. It's reluctance to commit to an outcome you can't control. Overthinking is a control strategy. At its core, overthinking is an attempt to control the future. You think, if I analyze this enough, I can prevent pain. But no amount of thinking can guarantee someone won't leave, prevent disappointment, eliminate rejection, remove uncertainty. Life doesn't reward perfect analysis, it rewards participation. And overthinking is the refusal to participate until certainty arrives, which it never does. Why smart people get stuck the longest. Overthinking doesn't trap the unaware, it traps the intelligent. Smart people can justify hesitation beautifully. They can explain why the timing isn't right, why more information is needed, why it's complicated, why they're being strategic. Their reasoning sounds responsible. But intelligence without courage becomes paralysis. Insight becomes insulation. They understand their patterns. They know the psychology. They can name the dynamics. And still, they don't move. Because thinking feels safer than exposure. Clarity is not a prerequisite. This belief destroys momentum. Once I feel clear, I'll act. Clarity does not come before action. It comes from action. You don't think your way into confidence, and you move your way into it. Every meaningful decision contains uncertainty, saying the thing without knowing how it'll land, leaving without knowing what's next, starting before you feel ready. Waiting for clarity is waiting for comfort, and comfort does not build strength. The myth of the perfect decision. People overthink because they want the right decision. But there is no perfect decision. There is only a choice, a response, a correction. Most decisions don't ruin your life, but avoiding decisions does. You don't fail because you choose wrong. You stagnate because you don't choose at all. Overthinking erodes self-trust. Every time you hesitate, something subtle happens and you send yourself a message, I don't trust me. You second-guess instincts. You seek more opinions. You wait for reassurance. You outsource authority. And slowly, quietly, self-trust dissolves. Not because you lack capability, but because you refuse to stand behind your own choices. Confidence isn't built through certainty. It's built through follow-through. Why overthinkers feel anxious all the time? Overthinking doesn't create safety. It creates anxiety. Because unresolved decisions stay open in the nervous system. They drain energy. They create background stress. They fragment attention. Your body knows something is pending. And until you act, it stays alert. That's why overthinkers feel exhausted without doing anything. Their system never gets closure. The real cost of overthinking. Overthinking doesn't just waste time, it costs momentum, confidence, identity. You don't just delay actions, you delay becoming who you could be. Years don't disappear through dramatic failure. They disappear through hesitation, through almost, through maybe later, through I'll think about it. Action collapses. Fear. Fear thrives in imagination. Action collapses it. When you act, hypotheticals become information. Anxiety turns into data. The unknown becomes reality. Even when action doesn't go well, it brings relief. Because now you know. And knowing is less stressful than imagining. You don't need more thinking time. You don't need another pro-con list, another night of rumination, another conversation about it. You need a decision, not a perfect one, a real one. Movement beats mental safety every time. A simple rule to interrupt overthinking. Use this rule. If you've thought about it more than twice, act, not because you're sure, but because thinking won't make you more sure. Ask, what am I avoiding feeling? What's the smallest move I could make? What would action look like today? Then do that. Messy, imperfect. Human. Responsibility is movement. Responsibility isn't just about reactions, it's about momentum. It's choosing discomfort over delay, movement over mental hiding, participation over paralysis. Overthinking pretends to be maturity, but maturity is action aligned with values, not fear dressed as caution. Final truth. Overthinking isn't depth, it's delay. It isn't wisdom, it's avoidance. And the moment you stop respecting it as intelligence, you regain your power. Not by knowing more, but by moving. You don't need another thought, you need a decision. And you already know what it is. Thank you for watching. This is MindStickz.